Hello, hello, everybody. Happy new month. Today is Wednesday, September 1st. And oh my gosh, I didn't even plan this, but it's just transpired that we're going to talk today about this super awesome book called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. It is The Japanese Art of Decluttering and Organizing by Marie Kondo. And it's funny because Melissa just redid her whole space and she was talking about how she was using this method. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I love it. I used it when I was preparing to sell all my stuff and travel around the world. So today we're like, well, for Wellness Wednesday, let's talk about how your environment and your stuff around you. Morning, Michael. Thanks for joining us. How your stuff and your environment around you actually really affects so many different things. It can affect your emotions, it can affect your intuition, your productivity, your just being clear in your mind, your focus. I know for me, I tend to have a messy desk and I've accepted that and I'm working every day to get it better. If I showed it to you, it's a little bit better. But I noticed that like I can't concentrate as much. So I have to do a desk cleanup pretty much every day now before I start working. And so we wanted to bring it to you guys today. If you've read the book, let us know what your thoughts were in the comments. Say hi. And then if you haven't, we'll talk about it. I mean, you can get the gist of it. Obviously, reading something, you'll always get your own takeaways from it. But Melissa, tell us how did this start for you?
Yeah. So, well, it's interesting. I mean, I lived in Japan, right, for a while. And so I was very aware of this this method and this philosophy because I feel like it's something actually like philosophical and almost a spiritual practice, right? It really is like the way that she approaches it, the way that it is approached in the book. And we're going to talk a little bit more about it. But more recently, because I've done it in little bits, like little spurts. So, in the past I had done it with my clothes. So I did like what she recommends you to do with clothes. And that's like, take all your clothes, put every single piece of clothing that you have in a pile, and then take each one and ask if it sparks joy, right? And notice how you feel in your body. And if it doesn't spark joy, it's time to get rid of it. And if it does, then you keep it, right? So I've done that. I did that with clothes. I did it with some things. Every now and then I would do like a small kind of declutter, cleaning out my closet a little bit. But this time, so I was just about to move, right? We just moved from one house to another. And I was feeling very kind of stagnant. There were a lot of things coming up for me, and was feeling really stuck, frustrated. There's just a lot of like emotions. And I just felt really called. I was like, you know what? If I'm going to pack everything anyway, I'm going to take everything out and I'm going to pack, and then we're going to move, and then I'm going to put it all in a new space. Why not really do it the right way? And so I decided to go really radical and like Marie Kondo everything. So I decided that I was just going to completely shift, reorganize, restructure, declutter literally every single thing that I had, and start afresh, start anew in this new space with a completely different energy. And yeah, and we'll get a little bit more into that, but that's basically how this all started. And I'm so glad I did it because it has completely shifted everything for me. But
I
yeah,
love that. Well, I want to comment on that too because most people hate moving. Good morning, Diane. Hello, Maria. I actually have come to love moving, and here's why: because it forces you to evaluate where you are in life with your possessions and your things and your stuff. And as an organized hoarder myself, I have learned that I just was holding on to everything because I didn't want to waste it. And I literally was carrying all this baggage, literally and physically and emotionally, spiritually, all the things, every time I moved. I mean, I had papers, this is crazy, from like 20 years ago that I was carrying around with me that were like credit card statements from 20 years ago when I turned 18, and I was just like, what am I doing? And it's so heavy, like you said. So now, if you know me and if you don't know me, I ended up selling pretty much almost everything I owned, and I love to travel. And I was like, I can't take it with me. I don't want to pay for storage. It's not worth it. I don't know when I'm coming back. So I ended up using her method to help me clear out all this stuff. And like Melissa said, like it just gives you this fresh start. It clears the energy, it clears your space, it clears your mind. And the feeling that I felt when I was finished getting rid of everything, I felt so light. And I was
Mm,
like, wow, like who knew stuff could impact you so much? And so I love when you move because, well, I love when I move because I get to evaluate everything. I'm preparing for a move sometime within the next 6 months, within a year or less, basically. And I'm like, I'm going to start looking at again everything I've compiled because we're just so stuff driven in the United States. I don't know about other countries or places, but everything is consumerism. And so, and it's not a bad thing. Like some things are really great, but it's just a way to really start fresh. And so when Melissa told me that she was Marie Kondoing everything, I was like, oh, that's the perfect live for us to do because just stuff consumes us. And
mhm.
like reading her book changed my life because now I ask every single time when I buy something, when I buy a new outfit, like Melissa was saying, or I try on clothes, I'm like, does this bring me joy? So Melissa, tell us about, I'm going to go with your experience and then I'll just chime in on mine because yours is like obviously more recent. Let's start with the
Yeah.
results and the outcome. Now that your room is completely done, and we'll go back and we'll talk about the process, but how do you feel now? What's changed? Has anything like
Mm.
showed up in your life? Tell us about how this has impacted you.
Yeah. Oh my God. How hasn't it? It's really like the word that really comes up for me is magic. But it's like I believe in making inner changes for to see outer change, but it works the other way around as well, right? So if your environment is cluttered, if everything around you feels overwhelming and it feels heavy, then that's what you're going to feel on the inside as well, right? And that's exactly how I was feeling. I was feeling really bogged down, like drained, just overwhelmed, and I would look around my room and it wouldn't feel good, and it almost made me want to like run away, right? Like I want to get out of here. I don't want to be here. And that's not what you want. You don't want your environment to be restrictive and feeling like you're trapped, right? So now that I've done this, I feel so much lighter. I feel freer. And I'm actually so much more connected to myself, right? Because so much of that overwhelm that I was feeling, because all of that is gone, I can actually tap into my intuition so much more, which is, it sounds crazy to think that, having a clean room and a clean space would do that, but it does because there's so much more of a flow, and I can really just breathe and I feel expansive and excited. And there were all these things that when I was in my old space that I wanted to do, right? Like I have a ukulele that I bought for my birthday because it's been one of those dreams of mine to like learn to play the ukulele. And I've played it a little bit, but not a lot. And I would look at it and I would almost feel guilty because I'm like, I want to play it, but I just never really felt like it, and I would never really make the time. Same thing with like all these practices, like, yoga. Like I have a bookshelf full of books that I wasn't reading, and like, all of these things. And it's funny, it's like now that I'm in this space, it's like I feel motivated to really show up and do the things I want to do. And I'm like making time to play my ukulele and do some yoga and read my books. And it just feels like this really exciting new chapter. And I feel so reinvigorated and so much happier with myself. And it's funny because all that changed is that environment, right? But I'm now able to really tap in and say, okay, well, now that I've taken care of that and my space feels good, how can I bring more space inside? What can I do now for myself within, right? And it's really beautiful because I actually get so many more answers, and things have been flowing in the most magical ways. Like it's like now in the last few days, there have been so many incredible synchronicities, like people that I've met, people I've connected with, things that I've put out into the universe and have come to me, things I haven't even shared with you yet. Like yesterday, so I think it was like a couple weeks ago, I was talking to a friend about how I want to be a speaker and how that's just been a calling of mine for a long time. And I've done a couple speaking gigs, but not, not a lot. And I said to her, I wish I had like a manager, like somebody that could go and like connect me to speaking gigs, right? Because I don't want to do the work around like finding them. Well, last night I found a freaking manager, and that's a whole other story. But it's just incredible how all of these things have been flowing ever since I cleared all of that space. And the last thing I'll say is that, there's so many universal laws. We talk about the law of attraction, but there's also this universal law that talks about exactly that, like creating space for what we really want so that we can actually magnetize our desires. So when we clear the clutter, we get rid of the things that aren't serving, we open ourselves up for the magic and for all of the things that we really want, right? So it's the same thing with like people, right? When we kind of step away from more negative energy, people that maybe aren't exactly serving our highest good, we actually open up for more to attract people that are really more in alignment with us.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And I want to just add that one of the impacts is maybe not even something with you, but it's the impact of you doing what you're doing and the ripple effect of others. So she talks about it in the book, and she
Yeah.
says, if you've ever, and I always remember this now, and I see this everywhere in life, there's always a ripple effect. So when Melissa was telling me about her room, she gave me a video tour and she's showing me everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I love it. And then I'm inspired now to like do the same thing. Like she's doing her oil shelf, or it's over here. Oh no, it's over here. She's doing her oil. We have the same oil shelf. And I was like, oh, I love it. Like yours looks so good. And I want to redo mine now. And I'm super inspired to do my room. And then the one thing you said is like that you feel so clear and things have shifted. And it's also the ripple effect of when you feel good in your space, you feel good inside. And then when you show up and interact with other people, that way that you feel inside, that way that you're lit up and you're feeling like magnetic and on fire and inspired and joyful, that is also a ripple effect to other people. And being in your energy when you have that to others is also inspiring to them, whether people know it or not. This happens, this energetic exchange happens. And that's why, people who are happy and joyful and positive tend to attract a lot of people, because people want to be in that energy and in that aura. And when they leave, I had a friend one time, we had dinner, and actually you and I had just done the huge healing that we did like a month ago now, 2 months ago. And she said, she left and she's like, Jen, something's different about you. Like you're just glowing. Like I can feel something. And she goes, when I left, I felt different. Like just being around you when you were feeling like that was a change for me. And I'm just like, I think people really underestimate the value of like doing things for yourself, working on yourself, exploring yourself. That's like what my whole brand's about. I know yours is the same.
Yes.
Like that exploration and that curiosity and stuff, and what you have around you and what surrounds you is a part of that. Absolutely. And so I just love that you're talking about the impact of it. We talked about how you started, and then I want to bring in here because we're both essential oil users and lovers and sellers of essential oils. So you can see my oil shelf in the background here, Melissa. Like I said, I'm going to redo mine based off of yours now, which is super exciting. But did you use any oils? Or I know you did. So what oils did you use to help with the process? Because for me, I know how inspiring my oils are to me. Today I'm doing Adaptive, which is my focus blend, and it's also energizing at the same time. And so what oils did you use? And I know you have a fun story to share about that.
Oh yeah. So my go-to when I'm working on something, when I have a big project and I really need to be lit up and on fire and like, go, but feeling good, right, while doing it. So it's Motivate. We have a blend called Motivate and another blend called Passion, which those two together are just magical. Oh my God. I'm so in love with them. Ah, yay.
I didn't even know those were the two you were going to say, but they're sitting right here on my desk.
Yeah. And then we have citrus bliss, which is actually it's a fire starter. Like it really gets you going. So it like
Yeah.
moves you even when you are just not when you're feeling stuck. And I will say there were actually a couple moments throughout the process because it took me a week. It took me a whole week to do my entire space,
It
right?
was a hardcore week too, not just a
Yeah.
week like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
working 8 to 5. I mean, I was talking to her and it'd be
No.
like, oh, I'm still working on my room. It was called a hardcore week.
Yeah, it was. It was hardcore. I mean, I think Saturday, Sunday, I didn't stop. Like I worked all day, Saturday, all day, Sunday. It was crazy. And then throughout the week, during the week, I was also working on my business, but then I actually would leave earlier to go and work on my room because it was so important. So, I mean, I did quite a few hours every day. And there was a moment, I think it was Tuesday, where I was feeling kind of dejected because I had kind of set myself up a little bit for failure just in the goal that I set for myself because I told myself I wanted to get it done on the weekend. And there was no way that was going to happen with the way that I was doing it. And so around Tuesday, I was like, oh, so exhausting. And you know, when like you've taken everything out and everything, I had it all in piles, but it was just, there's just piles of stuff all over your room. And so my room looked like it'd been hit by an earthquake and a tornado and like everything all at once. And I was like, oh, and it just felt really overwhelming. Like there was a point where I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And I was so tempted to go back to my old habits of, well, you know what? I'm just going to take all of this and put it in a box and we're just going to slide it over there and pretend, you know? But then I took my oil. So I took Citrus Plus, like I said, it's like this fire starter. I took Motivate and Passion, and I was like, all right, remember my why. So it was coming back to the purpose, why I was doing it, and how good I was going to feel. So I did some visualization on like, how good is it going to feel when I've done it? And not just done it, but I did it with love, with intention, with purpose. Every single thing in my room has an intention behind it. There's something, and every single item in my room sparks joy. So how amazing is that? Like, you know, when I look around my room, wherever I turn, something like lights me up, right? But it was coming back to that and remembering that, okay, this is why I'm doing it, because it's gonna have, and like you said, the ripple effect, right? It's not just about me. It's about how I then show up for my clients, my friends, my family, the world, right? And so yeah, but that obviously the oils really, really helped to keep pushing me, to drive, to like, you know, help me keep going even when I was starting to feel like I don't want to do it anymore. And then the one that you mentioned that was super fun is actually when I was done clearing it all, doing everything, and my room was done, and I wanted to diffuse something. I was feeling so much more alive, so much more connected, that my intuition was speaking so much louder. And I decided, okay, I'm going to diffuse something, you know, to just really like put it in the air and just even enhance the flow of this energy. And I just asked my intuition, what do I need? And I went over to my oil shelf, the one that you're talking about. And I just reached and I felt, and I was like, okay, what do I feel called to? And I reached for an oil that it's a blend that actually I have barely used. I really like have maybe used it once. It was one of those, like I bought a kit and it came in there and I was like, cool, you know, but I never really used it. It's not a very common oil. It's a bergamot mint. But I felt really called to it. So I diffused it. It smells amazing, by the way. I was like, oh, why don't I use this? And then I diffused it and I looked it up. We have an essential oils like book of like emotions. And I was like, what's the meaning, right? Like, why do I need this oil? And it was incredible. It was all about clearing the path, clearing space, like connecting to your heart.
I love that. I love it.
and joy. And I was like, of course.
Yeah, and that's the magic of Amal. That is the life-changing magic of tidying up, ladies and gentlemen. And she just banged it out. I love that. I love that. Well, I knew half the story, right? But I didn't know what the actual meaning was of oil. I knew it was going to be amazing coming from you and the oils and intuition and everything else. Okay, so there's a couple other things I want to talk about. One, we can't talk about all of her methods in here, but the biggest takeaway that I had from this book and what I still use in my life, I mentioned a little bit earlier, is anytime I buy something, I always say, does this really bring me joy? And just stopping and asking myself that question is like changing, because there are so many things that I have really sat down back on the shelf and said, no, it really doesn't, and I really evaluate now everything. When I clothes shop, I have to come home and try all the clothes on again and really sit with it and go and look in the mirror and go, does this bring me joy when I'm wearing it? And that was one of the huge things I look back to, back in my debt collector days. And it was my first, it wasn't my first office job, but I had to dress up every day. And I don't love to dress up. I like to be comfy and casual and, more like yoga pants, leggings type person. And I realized I used this method back when I was cleaning out my closet from those clothes. I realized there was so much stuff that I just wore because it fit me. And I wasn't feeling good in it. And when I stopped and I started asking myself and I put the clothes on, I'm like, does this bring me joy? I literally cleared out half of my closet, if not more. It was crazy how much stuff I had just accumulated because it fit, it was comfortable, and whatever that was. And there's that difference of the way you feel. Because how do you feel when you're all dolled up and you got this outfit on that you feel great in? And for me, it could be just yoga pants and a t-shirt, but I feel really good. I'm gonna be like, woohoo, my energy's on fire. And for all material possessions too, I do it all the time. Like this cup, I'm not really a person. I'm trying to downsize more stuff and get rid of more stuff. But I saw this at the store, and it says, "Believe in your light, and you will shine." And it has an eye. And I love eyes. I have an eye ring. It's broken, but I used to wear it all the time. And so I have the thing with the eyes. It's like a protection, And I was like, I love this cup. I use it every day now. I wash it after I use it. I don't put it in the dishwasher. I cherish it. And I was just like, it brings me so much joy when I drink my coffee or my tea or whatever it is. So, do you add on that?
Actually, yeah, there was something that came up as you were talking about that was interesting. So when you were saying that, I also thought about, how sometimes we have a sentimental value, we put a sentimental value on things because maybe somebody gave us something. So for example, somebody that we love, gave us a piece of clothing or an item or whatever. And so we keep it because of that person, right? And we feel bad getting rid of it because it was a gift and because it was something that, they must have put a lot of love and effort and blah, blah, blah into it, right? But ultimately, if you ask yourself, if you take, let's say, that piece of clothing or, you put it on, like you said, and you ask yourself, does it bring me joy? It could be that there is a sentimental value because of the attachment to the person. So maybe the person brings you joy. But if you go a layer deeper and you go, well, does this item actually bring me joy, though? Do I actually want to use this? Is this actually... And you'll find that a lot of the time, the answer is no. And I know I had that with me where I did a lot of volunteering in the past, and you would get t-shirts all the time, from the volunteering events. So I had a bunch of t-shirts from these volunteering events, and I never wanted to get rid of them because of the memory of the volunteering and the people that I met and just how good it felt, to be doing that and to be in that act and blah, blah, blah. And it made me just feel really good about myself, I think, at that time, right? But then I realized, but the actual t-shirt is not the memory. It's not the event. It's not the act, right? It's am I actually, do I love the actual t-shirt? Is this physical thing bringing me joy? Or is it the memory of what it's attached to? And then when I actually separated it that way, I was like, you know what? I can let go of the t-shirt and I can just take on the memory and just say, you know what? That's why I have a beautiful mind, a subconscious mind, and I have intuition, and I can have the memory of the thing without, you know, needing to hold on to that thing because I'm not using it, right? And then just to add another little thing to that, what I love, and I'm with you that the spark joy thing was huge. The other piece that I think was huge for me was blessing and releasing. So like releasing with gratitude. So really thanking each item for, you know, having spark joy, for what it did for you, for what the lessons, for everything, and then letting it go with love, with gratitude, right? And that feels so good. And then for me, I like to kind of take it a step further and imagine this thing going to a home where it's going to be loved and where it's going to spark joy and where it's really going to be appreciated, because, you know, it could either sit here and collect dust because I'm choosing to allow the sentimental value of the person or the event that it's connected to to continue to like hold it prisoner in my closet. Or I can let it go to a loving home and decide that I'm grateful for the memories. Right? I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, it
that's what was
absolutely
coming up.
does. So I wrote down two things. One, I want to talk more about the gifts things because I've received a lot of gifts, and then I feel really guilty like getting rid of them, like you
Yeah.
said. But the one thing I want to just touch on real quick is you said sending off your possessions and things with love and intention and visualizing like it going to the next best person. So I love to garage sale. It is like a
Mhm.
treasure hunt for me, and I actually have a little list of things that I am looking for at garage sales. So I'm like, "Oh, I want to get a food processor because I've been cooking more." And so I'm like, "Let me write food processor on my list," which is also me manifesting it. There's a really like quick story. I wanted to start painting, and so literally like, oh, my boyfriend at the time and we love to garage sale together, go to rummage sales and whatever else. And I put the intention out there. I want to start painting, and it's expensive. And so I was like, let's see if we can find anything at the garage sale. I kid you not, the very first garage sale we went to was this lady who was a painter and was getting rid of everything. And I was like, no way, this is so cool. So I got to save money, which I was super excited about. I got to take things that she no longer wanted or needed, and I'm sure she loved them and was happy to give them to someone that was going to use them and cherish them.
Mm.
So like that piece that reminded me of that. And also just it's great for the environment too. Like we're, you know, we don't need to keep creating so much stuff. We have all of this waste that's just hanging out there. And so I'm like, what can I do to do my part to recycle better? And you know, I'm not going to go buy like used chonies at the garage sale, but I will look at other things and anything I can totally, in case you don't know what chonies are, that's underwear for the slang. I'll totally see what I can find there. And it brings me joy because I have found some amazing things. I'm like looking around, I'm like, do I have anything? I do have one thing. Hold on. I didn't get this at a garage sale, but my aunt passed away and we were going through all the things, and I literally kept this because it brings me so much joy, and Santa hangs out on my desk 365 days a year because it brings
Oh.
me so much joy every time I see him. So I just wanted to say,
Oh.
like side note on that, like how cool that is, you know, and we're like all shifting the things between each other.
Yeah.
So that's that about the
Oh, one
else.
thing I want to say, because Michael said that he said that's the challenging part, separate the two joyous things versus people.
Yeah.
So one thing that I decided to do, because I have like a scrapbook, right? Like an album where I keep memories and whatever. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna have this big scrapbook, and that's where like I can have my memories. And so if there's an item that maybe I'm not using, and maybe even a piece, an article of clothing or whatever, but I know that it could have a better home. Like it sounds really funny, but I decided, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll take a picture. I have like a Polaroid camera, so it's like, take a picture of the thing, put it in my scrapbook, and have the memory there, so I could like write about the memory, right? Because sometimes our argument to ourselves is that, well, yeah, but you know, this thing triggers the memory, and then the memory brings us joy, and blah blah blah. It's like, well, okay, cool. You can have the memory without having all these things taking up space, and then, allow them to move on to better homes. So I don't know if that is something that you might want to adopt, Michael, or anybody else, but I just thought that's kind of a nice way to do that, to kind of keep the memory. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. When I was getting ready to move to San Diego the first time, well, the only time that I moved there, I had a huge box of stuff, like you said. Like I had, back in the day, your last day of school, people would sign your shirt. You would wear a shirt to school and everybody'd sign it. I had that shirt. I was like, what am I going to do with this? Like, I can't read half the writing, but I took a picture of it and I have it on my phone, and then I can print it and put it in my scrapbook. So I think that's excellent advice. Now I want to go back to the gift thing, because I've gotten a lot
Mm.
of gifts, and I know that a lot of people have gotten a lot of gifts and you feel guilty. And I really don't, like, I'm not offended anymore, after reading this book, or even before. If I get people something and they don't love it, then I don't think they should keep it. I think that they should regift
Mm.
it to someone else, because that would
Yeah.
bring me more joy than them telling me, oh, I love it, and then they don't use it or they don't wear it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so that she really talks about that in the book, and she says, like, the gift of, or the joy of the giving was what brought that person joy. And so it's okay to let go of the things that don't bring you joy, that might have come from someone else, because that magic happened in the exchange. And now it's okay to pass it on to someone who will love it more than you do, or will be able to use it more than you do. So I'm really happy that you
Yeah.
brought that up, Melissa, because I think that's a key element.
Yeah. And actually what I heard as you were saying that is that also maybe we were messengers, right? So maybe we were like a stepping stone, almost like it's gonna sound really weird, but almost like a foster home for that item. So like, this person got the joy of giving you that gift, right? And they felt called to give it to you for a reason. And maybe the reason is that you were meant to then pass it on to somebody else that you knew, right? That you find, oh, this is the perfect person for that,
Yes.
right? And so it's kind of cool when you think about it that way. And also, one of the things that she also talks about is, and I fully believe, and I know you believe this too, that I think the people that come into our lives, but also the items, are there to teach us something. So it's whether it's sparking joy or not, maybe it was meant to temporarily be with us to actually to teach us about who we really are, the things that do bring us joy, the things that don't, what are the things that I really like, what are the things that I don't, right? It kind of allows you to self-reflect when you really feel into it and say, oh, this is something that doesn't really feel aligned to me, and my energy, it's not really something that I want to have around, but that's okay. And then you can like thank that item for, oh, thank you, right? It's I do that with people, right? It's like when you feel like, oh, I'm not really aligned with this person anymore, and that's okay, but at the same time, you're thankful to them, right? For that lesson and for everything that they brought you, the growth, right? And I think we can
Yeah.
do that with items as well. So
I 100% believe that. And what I really love is you talked about, like, the signs and the synchronicities. I'm writing about that specifically in my book, where we are like the vessel to transmute information for other people. And you're right. It is the same thing with stuff. Like, maybe, when I'm ready to let go of this book, I might read it one more time. And I don't know if I will let go of it or not. It still brings me joy right now, but I am going to possibly pass it on to someone else that's going to love it. And then I change their
Mm,
life because of that. And I mean, I
mhm,
bought this myself, but if someone had given it to me, it's like that,
mhm,
that work of the universe. And we're all connected. At the end of the day, we are all connected. All things here are connected. And it's just that beautiful like flow that happens. So I'm happy you brought
oh
that up.
yeah.
The last thing I want to talk about, and we got to wrap it up soon, but is just the fact of, look at this lady, loved cleaning, and has like made a whole career of it. And
Mhm.
it's not even, I don't want to call it a career, because I think more so she was living into her joy, her gifts, and her passion.
Yeah.
And I just want to end it on the fact of like, what cool things do you love to do in your life that can help other people that really could be your calling, like your soul's calling?
Mm.
And I want to bring it up because obviously I'm in book writing mode right now. I'm getting my first book together and I talk about this, like those little like droplets of like soul whispers or breadcrumbs or whatever you want to call them. She loved it. She talks about in this book, like as a kid,
Yeah.
she loved organizing her whole house starting from a young age. And, I look back and I loved doing videos and look, here I am today. Like, this is one of my favorite things that I do in creating my business is bringing just information to people. And I also bring people's gifts to people,
Mhm.
so I just want to like plant that seed for people is like, what is it that you can do or what are your gifts that you can share with the world? And maybe I know you can, but maybe wherever you are in your journey, get paid to do it. Like how freaking
Mm.
cool is that? And they were talking in the comments about she has a Netflix show. And so, her love turned into coaching people and having like one-on-one clients, then to a book, then to a freaking Netflix show. And I don't know what else she does now. I'm sure she probably is teaching people how to do this
Yeah,
to
she's an
people.
organization consultant.
Yeah,
And can I just add that
of
she
course. Please
speaks
do.
only Japanese?
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
she
I didn't
doesn't
know
speak
that.
English. So
Ah,
what's just so beautiful about that is that like she could have easily said, like, there's all these limitations, right? Like, she could have said, I don't speak English. I don't, I'm just a small town girl from Japan. Like, what do I know? I just like to clean. I just like to organize. How is that gonna,
yeah.
but she didn't, like you said, she followed her joy, her passion, her gifts. And
Mhm.
look where it's taken her. She's an international organization consultant. Her book has sold like millions of copies and it became such a phenomenon that yeah, there's a Netflix show, there's all these things, and people pay her so much money to just come into their house and clean. And she comes with a translator, and the translator helps translate everything because she doesn't speak a word of English, but she
I
doesn't
love
need
that.
to. And it's like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
my God, like that could have been a massive barrier, right? So to add to Jen's questions, which I love, is also like, yeah, where have you been stopping yourself? Like, what limitations are you putting on yourself, that have stopped you from going after that really are just self-imposed? I mean, because I really believe that, with anything, if you really want it and you're really good at it and there's a need for it somewhere in the world, right, which honestly you'd be surprised like the amount of needs and niches there are in the world, right? um you can make it happen no matter what. It doesn't matter, right? You can like literally whatever limitation you think you have, actually 9 times out of 10 it's actually a reason why you should go for it. And so it's because it makes you even more unique, right?
Love that.
So yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And then with that, we'll leave it at what can you clean today? Does it bring you joy? What can you thank for its gift in your life and then pass it on to someone else? And I know a lot of people, I'm speaking for myself, sorry. I know that for myself, and I see it in other people, is we don't want to get rid of the things because we don't want to throw them away or them to go to waste. So I always try to call around like to a local women's shelter or homeless shelter. I mean, there are the places like the Goodwill and stuff, which yeah, it's like if there's local places, find a local place because they can use the stuff and it can give
Mhm.
someone a second chance at starting a new life. So if that's one of the barriers, like we were just talking about the
Mhm.
limits, that's like, well, I just don't want to waste this stuff. You can find a place for it to go. Someone
Mhm.
is waiting to receive it.
Exactly.
So thanks everyone for watching today. I think we covered everything that we had intended to. Hopefully this inspired you in some way, shape, or form to look at your own life where you can clean out some stuff to help for more mental inner peace of mind, more clarity, more focus, more production, more intuition, more connection. And hopefully this changed your life today as much as this book has changed ours. And I'll post a link in the comments to the book directly too. So yeah, thanks for joining us. Have an amazing day.
Bye.